Hi, I'm Catherine. For those who do not know me, I am the honest neurodivergent. I have just started this channel, and I got diagnosed in 2023 with ASD and ADHD. Try to say those two things at the same time, and I I was quite lost, and I've been through a lot, and I'm still learning. And I wanted to create a platform that I could share with people. And if this reaches no one, it reaches no one. But if it reaches one person, then that's all I want. Is I know how it can be so much, and certainly when I got diagnosed, I didn't really have that to turn to. I had no one to really turn to. So I want to just share my experiences, my lessons that I've learned and failed, and the ones that, trust me, I'm still learning and I'm still falling flat on my face. Um, yeah, I'm just want to preface this. I'm by no means an expert. I got diagnosed at 19. TA now. I am again non-professional, non-expert. I've just got diagnosed that wants to help others, um, and in their struggle. But yeah, so honest neurodivergent. I want to try and be as honest and as raw as possible, even if that means making myself a little bit uncomfortable, because I think I just want to be honest. So I will try and keep these as unedited as possible, because I just want it to be raw and authentic. And yeah, I'm currently sat in my bedroom, so if you see my dog run past me, I don't know. Oh, she's behind me. Perfect. If you see her run past me, she's Nova. Yeah, I just. And so I wanted to do this first video as kind of just as a brief overview. I will go probably in stuff like more depth in more videos, but yeah, I want to kind of keep it casual. And I have got a bit of a script, because knowing me, I will go off topic and talk for far too long about something. So I'm just going to kind of focus on this. But I thought I'd obviously start like kind of growing up, and like got to the point where I got diagnosed. So in short, growing up, I knew I was the odd one out. I knew that I was strange. And when I say that, again, everything is my experiences. If I laugh, it's kind of more at myself, and it's not directed at anyone. It's me. So I grew up in, standard house, mum, dad, older brother, and I knew I was kind of a strange child. I say strange. Okay, maybe I should be a bit nicer to myself. I knew I didn't do things the way that other children did. I knew that. I I was very short. I was very shy until I got comfortable, and then I got very loud, and I got very open and kind of outgoing, but most of the time I was quite shy. I did have anxiety, and I had kind of like little things that I would do. I would do around the house, and kind of do that would drive my at least my mum up the walls. I knew that one thing was that I would, certainly when it came to like her putting me to bed, she'd put me to bed, I'd get up and I'd order all my toy cars like out in like a row. And now looking back, it's like a classic sign of autism for me, but not at the time. It was kind of like, oh, it's very nice, Catherine, let's just get you to bed. But yeah, and I knew that I was different, especially obviously when you're in school and you're trying to make friends, and I found that really difficult. And because I wouldn't pick up on social cues as well as like other children would, I would again laugh at the wrong things. My timing wouldn't be quite there. I would ask really blunt questions, or when someone was laughing, I'd be like, I don't get the humor. Even when I was younger, I wouldn't understand it, and I was always quite emotional. I would cry a lot. That was my way to like let my emotions out. Is I would cry, and sometimes I'd be quite reserved. Like in social settings, it's especially big settings. So we would have like I remember at my primary school, we'd have like a summer fair every year, and my mum would always help organise it. I really didn't like going to the setup day, because everyone would want to talk to me. I just didn't enjoy that. I just wanted to be at the back in the corner with a book, not paying attention, because I didn't like it. And I didn't like the whole social thing. I was very bad at small talk, even as a younger child. And I tried to emulate my mum, who was fantastic at small talk, fantastic at social situations, and I just failed miserably. I still had the confidence to do this, and yeah, I'm trying to think in terms of that was obviously school. I knew that I was a bit disjointed. I knew that when at least sorry, when I joined my secondary school, I really I struggled quite badly. Sorry, my first secondary school I went to, I left because I didn't really fit in. Again, I will do another video on this. I just didn't fit in. So I left and went to another one where I fit right in, and I found a great group of friends that I still have today, and they are amazing. One of them, who is probably one of my closest friends ever, if not my closest, I met in year 9, and she made me cry, I think. We just didn't like each other. We just didn't like each other. She made me cry, and then there was one day, I think we were sat next to each other in like a history or like a maths, and I turned to her and was like, "You're not actually that bad." And then we're great friends. So it's really strange. I wasn't the best at making friends, especially in the traditional sense, but it's moments like that that's, you never know. And then obviously growing up, and so obviously did GCSEs, and obviously there's a lot of stress around that, and obviously I did start to get obviously a lot of my anxiety come out. I then went to college where I studied for 2 years. I studied A levels. Again, my anxiety was starting to come up. I remember one of my teachers, my history teacher, said, "Oh, I think you need to go to," it was called ALS at the time, assisted learning support, because your brain works too busy for your thoughts. Like your handwriting's not up. Like your handwriting's not good. You need to be typing your essays because these are long history essays that you need to be able to get done in a certain time. So I went, and it really helped me. And that was probably the first indicator in education, at least. I'd had a teacher in year 8, but it said something, but they never followed it up. And obviously, looking back, probably should have had it for my GCSEs and for my A levels, but I did have it for my A levels, sorry, but for my GCSEs, it's great looking back, but I managed. But I did have writing for my A levels, and because I was the year after the COVID lot, we sat smaller versions of the paper in house. So my college gave us mini versions of the paper, and I wrote them on a laptop, which really helped because I was in a room by myself. Again, all of these were signs of what was to come and the inevitable diagnosis. And so I left college, and I left to go to university. I went to the Royal Agricultural University up in Cirencester. It's quite a small uni. I actually never went to see it before I applied. I was set on doing equine, and so I just googled best equine universities, and it was one of the first ones that came up. Anyway, that's another story. So I moved in, and it's quite small, very much campus uni, and I really struggled to make friends. I struggled to make friends, struggled with the whole social setting. University is again a big shift. You're away from your parents for the first time, and obviously there's all the other stuff in it. I really, really struggled in terms of balance, and I kept myself to myself quite often because I didn't enjoy it. And I went out every now and again, but most of the time I was found at home or in the dorms reading a book or watching a film because it's where I felt comfortable. And it's then that my anxiety started to get worse. It was kind of out of nowhere. My anxiety was getting to the point where I was walking out of lectures because I just felt like I was going to hyperventilate. And I did a few times. I felt really dizzy, like the room was spinning, but I had to leave. And so I was in counselling to help with my anxiety. And my counsellor mentioned and said, "Oh, do you think you might be autistic?" I was like, "Oh, maybe." I think jokes have been made around the house, but I was like, "Oh, maybe." And she's like, "Would you want to pursue a diagnosis?" And I was like, No, I don't need the label. Like, I'm fine just carrying on. And so I thought about it for a few months, and I spoke to my mum at the time, and after a few months, I thought, no, I think I do want to get a diagnosis. And I remember I sat for lunch with my mum, and we pulled up like symptoms for ASD in women because it all looked different. There are similar things, but different. I will do a proper video on this. I'm not making sense of English, my goodness me. But ASD will present differently in girls than it will boys. And we pulled up one like chart picture, and I basically ticked all of them except like epileptic fits or seizures. And I was like, "Oh my goodness me, I think I might be autistic." And so from that point, I did get a diagnosis. Again, I want to do a video kind of going through my diagnosis, but I was very fortunate that I did it through private cover, so it was quite quick. I was with a very, very nice psychiatrist, and it was a very slightly strange experience because they were asking all these personal questions, they spoke to my family, they had to write some stuff, have an interview, I had to have an interview, I had to answer a load of questionnaires. And then we had the call of this is your diagnosis, and it was, Catherine has been presented with primary diagnosis of ASD with a secondary diagnosis of ADHD. And that was a surprise for me and my mum, because she was on the call with me. And my ADHD is it's my thoughts mostly. So when you think of the typical ADHD, you think of kind of like hyperact. That's not really me. I could go for a nap right now. I love naps. I love sleeping. In some ways, I'm quite lazy, and I'm quite quiet and quite like that sort of chill. But my thoughts are all over the place, and they bounce really quickly, which is why of my ADHD. I should think my ADHD is it's my thoughts bouncing really quickly. So I knew that for my mum it was an interesting learning curve of, oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, and then so I tried going on medication and I didn't like it. I came off it. It turns out it wouldn't work for people. It's not that it wouldn't work, but it didn't work for me. Yeah, I just decided I don't think this is right for me. So I decided to go unmedicated, and getting that diagnosis really helped. It really changed my perspective. My mum was worried that it become more of like a label of, I have autism, therefore I can't do X and Y. And so I made sure, and with the psychiatrist, that it was no. Just because you have autism, you do these things. It's just you have to put techniques in place. You have to put things in place that can help you. And it really helped having it down on paper, realizing, okay, this is where my weaknesses are, but actually these are my strengths, so I can use my strengths to like help my weaknesses. So I'm really bad at social situations, but I love cars. It's like one of my special interests. If I go and talk to people about cars, then I'll be less nervous because I'm talking about something I'm passionate in. And so in that sense, it really helped me. And obviously, but there was the flip side of, okay, I'm not the best in social situations, and that did kind of, bring stuff up. But equally, it made me kinder to myself in knowing that I'm not weird. I think in some ways I still am, but I'm not totally odd. I'm not totally like different from everyone. There are people who are like me, and it doesn't mean that I'm like totally the odd one out. I was definitely kinder to myself after getting my diagnosis, and I know it helped the people in my family, like those around me, because they understood, and they could have a bit more kind of compassion. Not that they didn't already, but they could have more compassion and understanding. Oh, that's why Catherine reacts the way that she does. This is why she will, like, if we would lay the table and there'd be like a certain spoon that we put on, like, because obviously we all have our little sections. If there was a certain spoon, I wouldn't eat with that spoon because like, that's not a good spoon. And my brother, I think, used to laugh and be like, that's really weird. And then now looking back on it, I'm like, I should like my cutlery a certain way. And there's so many other stories that I will tell that are just so funny to me, of moments where my family was like, my goodness me. And then now looking back on it, it's so obvious that it was part of that journey, and me realizing that, I'm not, it's not that I'm not odd one out, but there are reasons for why I do things. And what I say is a diagnosis isn't a magic fix, and it won't fix everything. I am still struggling, like day to day, and I still have moments where I will have a full meltdown where I'm still sat here like paralyzed because I've got so much to do, but knowing that I've got a deadline, or knowing like my routine gets broken, I'm sat here thinking, oh my goodness me, what do I do? I am not perfect, and that's why I want to be raw and honest with you, because it's not going to be perfect all the time, and there are going to be lots of moments where you do feel, I know that I felt completely out of control, completely powerless, and just like how do I describe it? Like I take 3 steps forward and like 17 back. But it is normal, at least for me. And so that's why I kind of want like this small little corner of the internet to be somewhere where I can share my experiences and someone out there can listen. And even if you don't have, yourself neurodivergent, even if you aren't neurodivergent yourself, there you go, I've got the words out. but maybe you know someone who is and you want to help them, you want to understand them more, or you're just really curious because it's something that I think is spoken about a lot but actually not really understood a lot of the time, that it's something that's kind of thrown around but I don't think many people understand. But yeah, so I hope this wasn't too long and complicated, and I hope, well, I will be doing more videos, but yeah. I don't know how to finish this. This is why you're going to see the autism come out, because it's really weird, because I'm still just talking to a camera and I'm sat on a wicker basket with my dog behind me. Bye. Hi, I'm Catherine, and this is knowlegde. She's got